Hello everybody and welcome to your third tutorial on making video games with Clickteam Fusion 2.5. Today we are gonna review and get a basic overview of the frame editor. So let's jump straight ahead and make a new project by clicking on the new project icon, and then we are gonna click on the thumbnail icon and double click it in order to access our frame editor. So now we are gonna be taken to the frame editor. This is where you are gonna make your level design. This is where you're gonna make your menu design and any visuals that the game contains, any screen that the game contains. So inside of the frame editor, this is the frame editor, and inside of this frame editor on the left you have this white bar. On the top you have this menu bar. This menu bar allows you to select the zoom in percentage, because sometimes you're working on a very large game that you have to zoom out like 25% in order to see the whole stage, the whole level. Over here you have the free move tool. If you click on this, you can click around the frame and drag it freely. But in order to do that without having to click on that icon, is to click, you just click the middle mouse button on your mouse, and that will drag the frame around so you can move around and view whatever is on the bottom, wherever it's on the top, on the sides, and just like that. So here we have paint mode. Paint mode is when you make a new object, when you have an object in the scene and you don't want to drag it out by hand one by one. For example, if you're working on an RPG game and you want to drag some grass tile around, you do not want to do that by hand. So you just select the object and you click on the paint mode and you can just paint it around the screen. Let's just delete all of this for now and review the other things. Here we have the grid setup. Here is where you set up a grid. If you want a grid in order to align your objects more properly, here is where you can toggle the visibility of your grid if you want the grid to be visible or no. And here is the snap to grid button. What that does is it snaps your objects to the grid so that it is always aligned properly. For now we do not need to use that. We are just going to review the interface. So if you click on this button, it's going to center the level to the frame. This is a frame. So in order to create a new object, you double click on the canvas. Either do that or you right click and click on insert object. Right now we have this create new object dialog opened up. If you don't see all of these icons, fear not, you probably do not have all of these extensions yet, and you probably have a free version of Clickteam Fusion 2.5. However, every copy of Fusion 2.5 has an active object, a quick backdrop object, and a backdrop object. So right now we are just going to create an active object by double clicking on the active object icon. And now it created an object into the scene, and that object is already visible at start. So if you preview the game by running the frame right here, you can see the object right there. In order to delete an object, you just click on it and press the delete key on your keyboard. On the left we have the layers toolbar. The layers toolbar is where you will manage your layers. Here you can put a background object, then you can make a new layer, and on top of it you can put the actual gameplay. If you're making a platformer, you can put the mountains on the first layer, the actual gameplay and platform as the second layer, and you can make a third layer where you put the heads up display and the life bar, the scores, and everything else. If you don't see the layers toolbar, you just hover your mouse on the right. On the bottom we have the library toolbar. Here is the library, the built-in library of Clickteam Fusion 2.5. Here is where you can get some interactive backgrounds and some pre-made stuff that Clickteam made themselves that you can use to make full games. So you just go to your local library, you can go to backgrounds or whatever folder you have, you double click on them and you can just drag them onto your screen, onto your frame, and now you have a nice background. So you don't have to waste your time trying to make assets, but I still recommend to make your assets your own. Right now we can browse into the games library toolbar and check in characters, and we can just choose one of these. Let's just check first characters, soldier, and we can just drag that onto our canvas, and we have a fully functional sprite that we can use inside of your game. So right now we have that sprite. We haven't yet configured its movement type and everything else. On the right you have the workspace toolbar. Here is where you can see everything that you have inside of your game and every frame that you have, so you can access any frame you have over here. On the bottom left you have the properties toolbar. The properties toolbar, as explained in the previous videos, is where you are going to modify the properties of anything you click, either it be the application, the frame, or any objects inside of your scene. So for example, let's choose this one player, this soldier. You can check if it's visible start or whatever else you wanna edit from him. For example, his size, his width, his height, or you can just click once and click twice after it's selected, and it opens up that drag, and it opens up this thing that lets you drag it around and resize the object. So for now we are going to go over here to the movement tab and go to movement and click on the movement type on the right of the text that says type, and we are gonna click on 8 directions. This gives him an 8 direction movement. So if you click on run frame, you can pretty much see that we can use the controllers. You can use the arrow keys on a keyboard to move the player around. So that's basically it for the frame editor. That's just a basic overview of the frame editor and how things work. And also on the left of your frame editor you have this thing right here, and this shows you all of the objects that are inside of your scene. So if you want to make a copy of your soldier, you can just drag it around like that. However, if you have an object, let's say an active object like this one, if you have an object like this and you want to make a copy of it, you can just drag it from the left. But if you want to make a completely new version of it, you can just make a new active object, and that will be a completely separate entity from the other one. As you can see, if I click on active 2, it only selects this one. If I click on active, it only selects the two ones that share the same source. If you want to duplicate an object, we get into that in other videos. Maybe you can just click on duplicate right here and it does the same thing, but you can enter coordinates and stuff like that. So that's it for this video. Like if you liked it, dislike if you dislike it if you disliked it, and subscribe if you want. We are going to cover up some more things in the next video, since this video is part of a playlist on Clickteam Fusion 2.5 tutorials. Thank you for watching.